Hello and welcome to Transfermarkt TV. I'm Branthwaite, he's Stefan Bienkowski, and also here is Ewan Robertson. This is the top 10 most valuable Premier League U21 players based on this week's Premier League market value update. And yeah, we got some really exciting names on this list. And starting with number 10, that's Rico Lewis from Manchester City. 19 years old, new market value, 38 million euros. Stefan, incredible talent.
Yeah, huge talent. Manchester City are also known for having some of the best players in the world at a senior level, but they've also got this incredible crop of young players coming through their academy, and Rico Lewis is a perfect example of that. Left back is such a kind of tricky situation for Manchester City. Fullback in general is actually a bit of a tricky situation for them. Pep Guardiola's played central defenders at many points on both wings. Guardiola's perhaps the best example, has played left back for much of the season. But even Kyle Walker, who's still proven to be a really important player for Manchester City, but he's certainly getting on in years and doesn't offer as much an attacking sense as he once used to. So Rico Lewis coming in and being this really kind of exciting, fast, pacey player with incredible ball skill just kind of goes to show that, there's this constant conveyor belt of young players coming through. I think his market value's gone by 18 million euros this season alone. So, yeah, he's not quite yet there as a first-team starter from week to week in, but, yeah, so much ahead of him next season, and I would be surprised if by this point next season we're talking about him as a, unquestionable, shall I say, starter in Pep Guardiola's starting 11.
Yeah, no, absolutely exciting player. Really excited to see what the future holds for him. Number 9 on our list is Jarrad Branthwaite from Everton, 21 years old, 42 million euro market value. Ewan, what do you know about him?
A lot. I think he's a player who'll be on a lot of top clubs' radars this summer. Given English and homegrown, and so last season he was on loan at PSV. That was his real kind of breakthrough season in terms of over there. Ruud van Nistelrooy was the manager last season, and Hojlund, he said that Branthwaite was the complete defender. I think he's been one of the best defenders in the Premier League this season. He made our shortlist for the top 6 defenders of the season. He's really good off either foot. He's tall, he's quick, he's got every characteristic you'd want from a modern defender. Will he leave Everton this summer? I can see this being one of the most protracted deals of the summer, given the fact that he's away with England in the Euros. Everton avoided relegation. They want a fee, I think, in excess of 60 million for him. So this could drag on quite a lot, but I think he's got every characteristic to be a top centre-half. Everton, of course, had one of the best defensive records in the Premier League, despite finishing towards the bottom of the table. I think they were 4th behind the top 3, behind Liverpool, Manchester City and Arsenal, which is credit to Branthwaite, obviously his England teammate as well, Jordan Pickford.
Yeah, no, absolutely exciting player. Up next on the list is Pape Matar from Tottenham, Stefan. Market value 45 million euros. Another really exciting player on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he, more than just about most players in the Tottenham team, kind of represents the kind of shift that Tottenham have made under Ange Postecoglou this season. If you kind of go back to the kind of Conte team where it was very kind of boring, for lack of a better term, with Hojlund in there as a kind of metronomic player. The fact that Sarr's be able to come in and play this really dynamic kind of ball-winning box-to-box player just kind of represents that kind of change in kind of high-octane attacking, gegenpressing football that Postecoglou has implemented at Tottenham. For good and for worse, we've obviously talked a lot on this channel about how Tottenham had a really impressive start this season, and then they kind of, maybe the wheels kind of came off towards the end. I'm sure Postecoglou's got a lot of plans this summer for how to revitalise that team, but there's no doubt that Sarr will still be the very centre of it. And the fact that his market value rose from 15 million euros at the start of the season to 45 at the end of it, I think goes a long way to kind of showing just how incredible he's been for Tottenham. And yeah, big player going forward, and I think he'll be a key player for Postecoglou next season.
Yeah, and of course, he and another player, Destiny Udogie, also 21 years old, 45 million euro market value. He's going to be the other key piece here, right, Ewan?
Yeah, incredible season. He was really good at Udinese last season in Serie A. Tottenham brought him back this summer. He's been their starting left back, and he doesn't play. He misses a few games towards the end of the season. you can really see the drop-off. There was a game where Emerson Royale played, I can't remember the exact game, but most games that he plays, he looks miles out his depth at left back. Ben Davies is coming towards the end of his career. Udogie's got everything you want from a modern left back. He's got a great engine, he can get up and down the pitch. His athleticism's incredible, he's strong, he's fast, he's good in the ball. I think he has the potential to become one of the best left backs in the world in a position where there's kind of a shortage of top level left backs at the moment. I think Udogie can really push through and become one of the best in the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The next guy on this list, Alejandro Garnacho, Manchester United. I can't believe he's only 19, 45 million euros. Stefan, they, without a doubt, scored the best goal of the season.
Yeah, that overhead kick against Everton was incredible. Reminiscent of Wayne Rooney once upon a time, that goal against Manchester City. I think you summed it up really well. Can't believe he's only 19 years old because he's obviously put in some incredible performances, but the thing that impresses me the most about him is his maturity. He just gets on the pitch and he just gets it done. You know, he doesn't really complain about it. He doesn't kind of waver in and out of challenges or anything. He just really puts a shift in for Manchester United. And while, 7 goals and 4 assists in 34 games might not suggest, a world-class player to come, I think what Manchester United fans really appreciate about him is how much hard work he puts in, the talent he clearly has, but also just the way that the Ten Hag's been able to use his pace as a kind of tactical outlet for much of the season, which is perhaps best summed up in that FA Cup final where you had Garnacho more or less playing as a striker and kind of running onto those long balls over the top of the Manchester City defence. He's got pace to burn, technically outstanding player, and at 19 years of age to be already such a crucial player for Man United suggests that he's going to be an absolute star going forward. And yeah, he's got a market value right now, 4 to 5 million. I wouldn't be surprised if it's double that in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised either. Ewan, up next on the list is Levi Colwill from Chelsea, 21 years old, 50 million euros. Tell us about him.
It's quite interesting on Colwill because he's not had a great season. You wouldn't class him as a regular at Chelsea. And he's also at Brighton on loan before and impressed. It'd be really interesting to see what happens on next season when, as we expect, Enzo Maresca to come in. I think he's a manager that will suit Colwill's style in terms of being, very much in the ilk of his former manager Pep Guardiola and wanting to play out from the back and get on the ball. Colwill's played at centre back, which is his best position, and he's also played at left back this season. He's definitely a centre half. He made his England debut this year as well, so there's huge promise for Colwill in terms of modern centre half having all the kind of abilities you'd want. But he's not really kept on this season. He's not been a regular at Chelsea, so it's a big season for him next year because if he doesn't play regularly, they can see him maybe leaving to get more regular first team football.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one to watch. As is this next player, Evan Ferguson from Brighton, 19-year-old Irish striker who has been, Stefan, when he first burst onto the scene, being compared with Wayne Rooney, but his scoring has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, it has. I think this has probably been a season to forget for Ferguson, to be perfectly honest with you. He shot up to 65 million euros in market value off the back of an incredible campaign last season when his goals per minute stats were just insane. Things have really kind of struggled for him at Brighton this season based on the fact he's only got 6 goals and 0 assists actually in 27 league games. I think for much this season he struggled with fitness. He missed the last 10 games through an ankle injury. But also Brighton in general have really struggled with the increased workload of playing in Europe. De Zerbi's obviously kind of struggled with squad rotation, and I think the fact that he's left the club, not more or less stating publicly, but suggesting that more or less due to the fact that he disagrees with the club and the direction they want to go with the squad going forward, makes me think that he probably had some reservations about the lack of depth in this team, and maybe the fact that Ferguson kind of struggled for game time or struggled for consistent game time suggests that De Zerbi wasn't entirely happy with his options. So whoever takes his place, De Zerbi at Brighton next season, will obviously have to figure out how to get the best out of Evan Ferguson because he'll want to bounce back from this season, but still an incredible player, still very highly rated, obviously based on his market value, but I think he'll definitely want to make sure next season's one where he's playing every single week and gets back into the goal scoring form.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This next player on the list, I think every Manchester United fan and the world beyond Manchester United has been talking a lot about him. That's Kobbie Mainoo, 19 years old, 50 million euro market value. Ewan, what do you think here?
I think he's a generational talent. I think the most impressive thing about Mainoo is his maturity beyond his years. He doesn't seem fazed by anything. Obviously we know from working in the media that the media attention on Manchester United is unlike most clubs in the world. There's only a few clubs where there's so much media attention. Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United. And he's come into the first team and just looks completely unfazed. He scored 2 incredible goals against Wolves and also against Liverpool, and then scores in the FA Cup final to win it for Manchester United. It's been an incredible rise this season. He didn't make his first start until first ever Premier League start was against Everton, I think November, December. And he also had that injury in pre-season, and Ten Hag planned on starting him at the start of the season had it not been for that injury. He's an incredible player. I think he's the most valuable 19-year-old in the world in Transfermarkt for his age group, born in 2005, which shows his pedigree. I can only see his value going one way. He'll probably start for England at the Euros in the summer, and this is all at 19 years old. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Really excited to see him at the Euros for sure. Up next, another Manchester United player, Stefan, Rasmus Hojlund. I think we are all excited to see how he will do in the Premier League after being signed for a significant fee from Italy. How did it go for him?
It's been a season of mixed results for Hojlund, but I think there's a lot to be excited about for Manchester United, for Manchester United fans, shall I say. If you actually look at his goal scoring, it's actually more or less neck and neck with what he achieved at Atalanta last season. Last season, he was picking up 0.44 goals per 90 minutes. This season at Man United in the Premier League is 0.42. So, more or less identical. And I think probably most Man United fans would say that he's really had to work with scraps up front in a Man United team that, have obviously been pretty dysfunctional for much of the season, missing a lot of their key players. At times, Ten Hag's really had to put out, B teams or C teams to just try and get through games. And I think Hojlund, more than just about any other player in that team, has really struggled with that in the sense that, they just haven't been creating as many chances for him. So I think for the fact that he's obviously, this season finished the campaign with 16 goals in all competitions, really impressive. And I think Man United fans and Ten Hag, if he is still a Man United manager at the end of the summer, can probably think if we can actually put out a coherent team, a consistent team that can get performances and create chances for Hojlund, you'd assume he'd be able to score a lot more goals, because I guess, bottom line is that he scores the chances that he's given. He just hasn't been given enough chances at Man United this season. So, yeah, the sky's the limit for him as well. A really impressive young player. And like a lot of the Man United players we've talked about in this video, a huge talent for years to come.
Yeah, and I guess, he's the third Man United player really high up on the list here, and it really shows you how much potential there is in the side, and all that's really needed is maybe a little bit of consistency on the bench and some time, giving a manager some time to work with these players. That hasn't been an issue at Man City. There has been a lot of consistency, and not surprising, the number one name on the list is Jeremy Doku, 21-year-old winger, market value 65 million euros. He is neck and neck with Hojlund, in fairness. The two have the same age and the same market value. I think it's just a few months difference that really pipped him to the top here. What do you think here?
I actually think it's a really good first season in England. I think the step up from League One to Premier League is substantial. I think people sometimes overlook that and maybe look just at the numbers, but I think Doku's came in and he's very much not your typical Pep Guardiola player. Guardiola usually likes players who are like really technical in the ball and like to pass it and move it and intricate passes of play and swap positions. But Doku's very much a classic winger, and whereas he'll get the ball, he'll want to face up his fullback and try and beat him with pace or skill. I think he's really good one-on-one. He's electric at times. I think next season you'll probably see him playing more regularly because he gives City something different. There's also, I think, an interesting dynamic is City don't play for a traditional left-back. So Doku's very much doesn't have that kind of player outside him which can create space. So he very much gets the ball and he's always kind of one-on-one with his fullback. I think you might see City sign a left-back in the summer, a traditional left-back, and that might impact how Doku plays. It's very much been a toss-up between him and Jack Grealish to see who starts. Can play a different style of plays as well between the two players. I think that's a really good first season. Doku, he'll also go to the Euros this summer as well with Belgium. So I think he's a player who'll really kick on next season.
Yeah, I think you're quite right about the step up from Ligue 1 to some of the other top leagues in Europe. But Stade Rennes have been incredible producing these players that do make the step right away, and he's of course one of them. So huge compliments to the club and the work that they've been doing. They're producing these players. That concludes the list. If you want to read more about it, head to Transfermarkt now. Check it out. We have lots of content there around the Premier League market value updates. So yeah, I can only highly recommend heading to our various sites, and of course check out the other videos as well that we have on the YouTube channel. We'll be back soon. Until then, cheers and bye-bye.